Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little pissed off with the 76ers right now for some comments that I heard about Joel Embiid from the head coach. It just upsets me. It annoys me. It kills me inside because it seems like we are going down the same exact road, the same path that we have been going down for so many damn years. And I think it's finally time to maybe look in another direction. I'm just spitballing, but I think it's time to maybe change the philosophy when it comes to one of the stars. But I won't allow this to only be negative. There are some positives to look at when it comes to the first game starting on Saturday, and I read an outstanding piece by Rich Hoffman on The Athletic, and it shows you a breakdown as well on some of the new plays or the new philosophies that the 76ers are hopefully going to utilize when things come down the stretch here. So a lot to get into. Before we do, this episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They will make sure that you receive all the state and federal incentives available for switching to solar. There's no risk and no need for investment. With a solar energy system, you can even increase the value of your home by an average of 4.1%. Make sure you check out their information. It is in the description. So we'll start with what bothers me, and it's the fact that Joel Embiid sat out those 2 games, and it was just scrimmages. I get it. And I've acknowledged this already. But I heard Brett Brown speak on Thursday, and he said, I'm going to sit down with the medical people and just assess what we're able to do at practice. He talks about not being reckless about putting Joel Embiid out on the floor. And I'm just sick and tired of it. Seriously, when is enough enough? When is it we are going to play Joel Embiid? There was that big conversation heading into the postseason that he was going to work his way up to about 38 minutes a game. There's no way in hell that Joel Embiid is going to play that much if he's barely getting on the floor. He's barely going to be playing in these 8 games. Now, Brett did say that he expects Joel Embiid to play on Saturday against the Pacers. Well, what does that mean? He expects him to play? That means there's still a chance that he doesn't. And even if he does get out on the floor, how many minutes is he going to run up and down? He's going to have to run a serious amount back and forth up and down the court if he's going to want to work himself into basketball shape. We were informed he was in the best shape of his life. 3 million times now, by the way. Every single year, we're informed he's in the best shape of his life. But how are you supposed to keep up that best shape in your life if you are not even playing the basketball games? At what point is it, Joel, you're going to play? And here's the thing. This is an organizational philosophy. A lot of people want to get on Brett Brown. It's Brett Brown's fault. He's not playing him. This is an organizational problem. From the minute Joel Embiid was drafted, we understood that there was some injury history which kept him off the floor early in his career. And it seems like the whole entire 76ers organization is afraid to put him out there no matter what happens to him. Hangnail, broken finger, a tweak in the foot. I mean, you name it. They're just going to keep him out for precautionary reasons. And I get that to an extent. Seriously, I do understand being safe when it comes to players. But there is a line. At some point, the guy has to play the game. And you just have to question when these calf injuries pop up and when these little minor things pop up, is it worth holding him out for such a long time to the point where that's now affecting his conditioning and getting back in basketball shape? I guess it comes down to if you really believe that this calf injury is such a major problem to keep him out. I don't think that this calf injury is that big of a deal to keep him out. I think they utilize this and they stretch it out to make it sound worse than what it really is. They want to make sure he's ready for the postseason. And I can support that logic to an extent. but you do need to value him playing the damn game when it comes to getting ready for the postseason as well. To be available to dominate the way that he needs to dominate, it's more than just him being there. He's going to have to get natural flow of playing, being in the post, knocking down shots, facing up an opponent, hitting the three-pointers, getting to the foul line. He's going to need that. It's been 4.5 months. 4.5 months. And you expect him to just sit his ass on the bench? It's seriously laughable. Load management. I've seen load management work. And this is where I'm going to question Joel Embiid a bit. Because I talk about how athletes need to grow. How you don't just walk into the NBA and dominate. And I think that that is very true. Now, Joel Embiid is touching the age that I claim starts that process of going out there and being a different type of beast in this grown man's league. 27 is where I start that age. Joel Embiid is touching it and getting super close. At what point should Joel Embiid say, give me the damn ball. Give me the ball. I'm going out there. I don't care what you tell me. I'm going out there. It's almost as if he's okay with sitting on the bench, relaxing, not playing throughout these games. Load management does work. Kawhi Leonard, when playing for the Raptors, he barely played any back-to-backs, if he even played any at all. Did he play any at all? I think there might have even been a mindset with that squad where any back-to-back, he just didn't play whatsoever. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was every back-to-back he didn't play. And if I'm wrong, well, then it's a lot of back-to-backs he didn't play. And he would rest, and he would kick back. But the difference is, when he was on the floor, he was straight up a different level. You couldn't stop the guy. When Joel Embiid enters the floor after maybe missing a game here or doing a couple games there, it looks like he's been off for 6 weeks and went to the Bahamas. I mean, that's the difference, right? So now I question, when it comes to Joel Embiid, the mental side of things and the growth side of things. Some people would claim you either have that mentality or you don't have that mentality. I want to know, can you learn that mentality? Is that something you can transform into? I talk about the physical addition to beefing up, not only beefing up when it comes to the off seasons, but learning the game differently, adding to your shot. Those are things that you are learning on when it comes to your skill set. But you can also grow when it comes to the mental side of the game as well. And will that go into Joel Embiid's brain as he continues to grow? Or is this who he is? A guy who thinks that he can just go through the motions when he touches the floor. We listened to a pretty interesting audio cut on 97.3 ESPN on the Sports Bash this week of Zach Lowe talking on his podcast about how they're not even going to vote for Joel Embiid to make any of the All-NBA teams because he doesn't care, it seems. He doesn't go out there and play. He doesn't log enough minutes, and when he does, it seems like he's just going through the motions and just going out there and saving it for the postseason. And guess what? Once again, I do comprehend that logic to an extent because I don't believe that 82 games of the regular season in the NBA, they don't matter because the teams at the top clearly are in a mindset of, okay, we are a playoff team, let's get to the playoffs. But there is a line. Now, I think it's disrespectful to not voting for any All-NBA team, but that's how they feel about it. That's how strongly they feel about Joel Embiid and the way that he approaches the game. Is that concerning to you? That these people who cover the league at a high level look at Joel Embiid as a guy who doesn't really care that much? Because it bothers me. Now, that doesn't mean trade him. That doesn't mean get rid of him. That doesn't mean any other crazy ideas that go through people's brains when you hear something like this. It's about working on this issue. So every offseason, people work on their jump shot. People work on their game. People work on their post-up. People work on something. Defense. I feel like there is a way out there to drill something in a brain. We need to get to the point where Joel Embiid is doing what he did once the TNT crew caught him out consistently. Instead of going through the motions at times. You got to get that in his head. And why can't that be taught? Sure it can. Will it, though, is a different question. But to tie this all together, The organizational philosophy with Joel Embiid, it's got to change. I can't stand the fact that they are going to rest him for no matter what. When I saw the news, I first thought, here we go. We're going to get game time decisions. We're going to get, hey, he might play. We're going to get he'll play 15 minutes. We have a starting five that has never played a damn legit minute together, and we're expecting them to go out there and win a championship? We're expecting them to go out there and play great basketball? The only way to do that is to implement Joel Embiid on the floor, because that changes everything. You can't have everybody else run out there, but Al Horford's in the spot instead of Joel Embiid. Then it's not the same philosophy offensively. You change so much because there's so many possessions where you dump it into Joel Embiid down low, and then the other guys are being utilized differently, or Joel Embiid is spaced out by the three-point line. And sure, you can do that with Al Horford, but we're talking Joel Embiid, and that's a different type of beast. And then factor in what happens defensively as well. You can't get the same type of run without Joel Embiid out there with this new starting five. And from that standpoint, I'm very concerned. Should I be concerned about the injury, the calf injury? Sure, because I think that he has a past where history pops up, he has a past where injuries pop up. And the question to you at that point is, do you factor in all of these minor little bumps and bruises down the road that technically kept him out? Do you count those as injuries, or just something to put Joel Embiid on the bench so they can rest him for some time because they are scared for him to get actually hurt? One thing after the next when it comes to this organization, when it comes to this team, when it comes to Joel Embiid, and it's frustrating. I am at the point now where let's go. Come on. Grow up. Let them play. Let them play. Guys play through these banged up injuries all the time. You're going to have to let them play. Every time something happens, you don't have to sideline them forever. And it's a problem from the top to bottom. Yeah, Brett Brown's in the equation. So is Elton Brand, and so is everybody else involved. Who knows what you're going to see out of it? Really, who knows? I don't know how these teams are going to play these 8 games. We saw the first 2 games last night. LeBron versus Kawhi. And I'll tell you what, LeBron struggled offensively, but late, he got his own rebound. He got the game-winning bucket, and then he locked down Kawhi Leonard. Locked down. Kawhi had no business. He had no clue what he was doing out there. And, I praise Kawhi for having the right mentality when he's not being load-managed and being a dog. But here's the counter-argument. You got LeBron James locking him down, which was very entertaining to see. You know me, I'm a LeBron's man. I got my LeBron framed. I don't know why it took me so long to think of the word framed. LeBron framed poster hanging up around here. So, you know me, I'm a LeBron's man. To see him get the game-winning shot, even though he struggled a bit throughout the game through the first 3 quarters, he did that, and then he put on the clamps on Kawhi and the Clippers late. That was phenomenal to watch. But you saw how hard he was working. You saw how hard Anthony Davis was working. You felt the intensity in there, and I was curious, are you going to see a different type of intensity from the scrimmages to the regular season games? Because ultimately, they're all games that don't matter for some of these teams. So how will teams play it? They were playing hard. They were putting everything they got out there. Are you going to get that out of Joel Embiid, or is he not going to play? Or if he does, is he only going to play 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes? There's no way in hell this man gets to 38 minutes if that's the case. I don't think he's getting to 38 minutes regardless. Let's be realistic. I thought that was a lofty goal from the jump. 38 minutes for Joel Embiid. My ass. All right. You want to get to some positives? Let's see here. The Athletic piece that I read, it was very fascinating, and if you do have a subscription to The Athletic, I advise you to read it. It's by Rich Hoffman, and it shows a couple different things. So one of the big problems throughout the 76ers, I would say, is their defense, and specifically their pick-and-roll defense. It does seem like it gets picked apart at times. I mean, these guys get the shots that they want, they get in their pocket after the pick, and bang, they're able to get the shot that they want to get essentially almost every time down the floor, right? So at times, that pick and roll defense was so frustrating. It was so annoying. There was always a guard to go off on this team. Well, you can see in some clips throughout the piece that before you would hang out by your guy and you would fight over the screen and you would stick with your guy, and that would allow that whole pick to work efficiently. And now it seems like you're going to get a little bit of help. So there's a defender who's not so close on his man out by the perimeter. He's sinking in a bit more to maybe close down that entrance of the paint. And then a slip underneath the screen, which would force the shooter more outside the perimeter than it is coming in closer to come around the pick and hit that mid-range jump shot area. So you're seeing a different approach when it comes to the defense. And the clip that I saw was Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle. So imagine Matisse and Ben closing in on you a bit more. I would say that that's an issue, right? You got the length of Ben Simmons, who's 6'10", hanging out by that perimeter by the entrance of the paint. And then you have Matisse Thybulle swarming all over you. That's a tall task, no doubt. Will it be as effective with other players? Great question. We'll have to see. With those two, which are your best two defenders, it seemed like it caused guys some problems. So keep an eye out on that new look when it comes to defending the pick and roll, and I think that's huge. I really do. I think that is a huge part of the Sixers that needed to have some sort of switch up, because at times you're watching these players, and players who are no Chris Pauls of the world, right? I'm not talking these legit, insane, all-star level point guards. There'd be guards dribbling the ball up, getting a pick, knocking them down, dropping 39 points. Who the hell is this guy? And it was all because they were able to get to that spot on the floor and knock down their shots. Well, hopefully that changes that, and you'll see the other team being forced to either make another pass and change the play, or they're going to be jacking up a shot where Matisse is still in their grill, or anybody else. They're going to be jacking up a shot outside of the paint more and forced outside more, but with pressure on top of them as well. So keep an eye out on that. The pick and roll is going to be utilized a little differently offensively, which is great, right? This is a team that has not ran enough pick and roll. We've been screaming about this is a pick and roll league. Well, it looks like there's some different ways for it to be utilized, and the one that I saw that I liked a lot was between Josh Richardson and Tobias Harris. So Tobias Harris can get a switch on a guard, and then he's able to post him up. Talk about a size advantage. Josh Richardson at the top of the key. You get your pick by Tobias. Then you get your mismatch that you want. You dump it back in over on Tobias, and there he goes. He goes to work. Now, there's times where they get help because they understand that guard isn't going to be able to handle the size of Tobias Harris. So fine, bring that help over. Bang, there's Josh Richardson, who is now available and open because they're bringing down help on Tobias Harris. Bang, push it out to Josh Richardson, and there is a pick utilized. And then you saw some with Ben Simmons and Alec Burks, and this is essentially exactly what play would kill the Sixers all the time. Your standard pick. Ben Simmons setting the pick. Alec Burks comes around, sits in the pocket that he wants for a mid-range J. Bang, take the mid-range jumper. Wide open every single time. You saw Alec Burks and you saw Ben Simmons do that. Now, how much time is Alec Burks going to get? We don't know. Can Shake Milton do the same thing? Can Josh Richardson do the same thing? With some ball-handling guards out there, you can run that. I mean, it's a standard play, but you can run that with other guys. Use Ben as the guy who's setting the screen, and if that's open, then fine, take it. But if they're going to close out on someone like Shake Milton, if they're going to close out on some of these players, Alec Burks, now you can utilize Ben Simmons as that screener, and now you got to stop something like that. And if you ask me, if I'm defending, realistically, I'd rather give Shake Milton and Alec Burks those mid-range shots until it starts hurting you a lot, instead of allowing Ben Simmons to get going with some forceful rolling to the basket or being utilized in any other way, no doubt. But some interesting looks when it comes to the Sixers team because it's new and it's something we haven't seen before. And then Ben at the elbow. This one's big because we talked about this team now using Ben Simmons as a 4, but still running the play, but still being the facilitator, still running the offense, but through different parts of the floor. Well, Ben Simmons at the elbow, you saw a lot of different looks. One of them, him getting the basketball, attacking to the rim, getting to the hole, being forceful, going downhill. And that's a beautiful part of his game. Getting the ball at the elbow, bang, attacking. Phenomenal approach. And that's when you look at how many people can guard him at that position. What type of defender in the postseason are teams going to try and put on Ben Simmons, especially when Joel Embiid is out there on the floor. Another one, we've seen a lot of dribble handoffs in the past, specifically with J.J. Redick. This isn't a dribble handoff, but it's got a similar philosophy. As he's at the elbow, you got guys running around the perimeter, and it's more like a pitch. You know, a little flea flicker in football. You get the ball, a little flea flicker to the quarterback. Well, you know, you get the ball at the elbow, you give a little pass like this, and you get someone who's able to shoot the 3 ball pretty much right in front of Ben Simmons as he's standing there. That's another play that's utilized, as well as, this one's good, and I think you're going to see it a lot. Ben with the ball at the elbow, of course, and you got some screens being set on the other side of the floor, which allows someone to run around the wing, catch the ball across the court at the 3-point line, and then from there, you might have a mismatch, you might have someone able to be more in the paint on that side, or you now have a 3-point shot opportunity as well. So you will have options based off of that pass, but why I'm bringing this up, that's Ben Simmons running the offense through the elbow, and I think that is something that will change the identity of this team and how teams have to defend the 76ers, and that's the new look that we were kind of hoping for when it came to adding Shake Milton to the roster, to the starting lineup. The only thing that gets me a little bit worried at this point is if Joel Embiid's not out there playing, what are they supposed to do? Are they getting enough run at it? It truly does bother me. It gets me upset because I think that it's so important to get somebody out there like Joel Embiid. I'm sick and tired of the babying. That's what it is. I'm tired of the babying. And it's not just a Brett Brown thing. This is the whole entire philosophy from the top to the bottom when it comes to this man and his past injuries. They are afraid to put him out there when something little happens, when something minor happens. And at some point, you got to stop doing that. You got to actually play the game. Best shape of his life. Gets hurt again. This little calf injury, I'm sure, is absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. They just want to make sure that he can play. Or, which is the other side of this, but I don't think it's this, I'm just saying, this could be true, that he is seriously injured, and this is a way for the medical team to have poor communication with the fan base. Actually, it would be the coach and the GM and the players with the poor communication. Once the medical staff tells the coach the proper information, which we've seen in the past. But if the reason why I know it's not that is because Brett Brown said he expects Joel Embiid to play. If it was a serious injury, you wouldn't have the head coach saying, I expect him to play on Saturday. But playing on Saturday, that's pretty broad. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 35 minutes. It's got to be 30 plus. Play 30 plus every damn game at this point. Every game. If you're going to want to be in playoff shape, so you're not huffing and puffing, every game. It's simple. Simple logic. I supported it in the past. At some point and at some time, it's done with. Play the damn game. Now, before we end this, remember this episode is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. And with over 20 years of experience in the solar industry, they are home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. They are dedicated to making sure your project is completed easily and properly using high-quality materials and trained professionals. Their information is in the description. Thank you so much for listening. Comment down below if you're listening to this on YouTube. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or any other podcasting platform, you can use the review system as a comment section. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.